Coming up on Market Shares, President Donald Trump has finally made his Federal Reserve Chair pick. What Kevin Warsh means for investors.
And the deadline looms for a partial government shutdown. What's included in the funding package?
Plus, a national shutdown is happening today. How the ICE out protest could impact businesses. Hold on to your wallets because Market Shares starts right now. Good afternoon and welcome into Market Shares. I'm Riley Underwood.
And I'm Drew Albaugh. Let's go right into our market update, Riley. And overall, the market doing a lot of this. The NASDAQ pretty much dead center, down 0.1%. The S&P 500, the only the indexes in the green at plus 0.28%. And then it's the Dow. The biggest drop, but still nothing to really write home about, Riley.
Well, the Dow, yeah, that's the measure of the 30 biggest stocks. So that's more of the industries like healthcare, consumer goods. The S&P 500, that gets propped up a little bit because it's the 500 biggest stocks. So it gets a little balanced out. Dow Jones, really, if one stock is a little volatile, it kind of brings the whole thing down. We'll get into that a little bit later. But right now, nothing too bad or good to worry about for investors, pretty much straight down the line.
I do want to talk about the NASDAQ really quickly. Up over 1% through the first 3 days, but at Wednesday, towards the end of the market day, starts to trail down. That's because a lot of these big tech companies had kind of mixed results, including Microsoft, which is now down over 10%. That's a big reason why the NASDAQ doesn't finish in the green for this week. But overall, as the Fed rates stay steady at 3.5%, pretty much everything right down the middle. So nothing really to complain about at this point.
What do you say we get into our first market mover of the day?
That.
You'd love that? I'd love that too. It's Comcast, and Comcast is up right now just under 1%. Comcast owns NBC. You may be saying, well, people are cutting their cords, not using cable. Well, Comcast owns a lot of those channels you're still watching. They own Peacock, they own NBC, they own the Universal theme parks, and theme parks actually are doing really good right now. They delivered a standout performance with revenue surging 22% to $2.89 billion. Also the launch of NBA on NBC and Peacock. That attracted 170 new advertisers for commercials and things like that, while Sunday Night Football delivered its most watched season in history. Plus, NBC, the carrier of this year's Super Bowl.
Right.
And you know how those advertising numbers go into the revenue.
And the Olympics.
Olympics. It jacks it way up. So right now, Comcast is doing very good by way of NBC. So they're in the green right now.
Yeah, content is king, right? And this is a sub-market that's up 6% for Comcast over the last couple of months. And the green for the response. All right, let's go to a stock that's in the red now. Yeah, you see it here, Carvana. What happened, Carvana? Down 13.8%, just north of $400, down 65 and change. And over the last 5 days, you see on Tuesday, a big dip. It responds a little bit, but goes right back down here on a Friday. And the big reason why, Gotham City Research claimed Carvana's earnings for 2023-2024 were inflated by over $1 billion. Now, that's a really big deal, obviously, lying about your numbers. Now, this is just alleged. Carvana has come out and said that it is complete ludicrous, that our earnings are valid. Also, Gotham City Research said that February 18th market earnings report for Carvana will be delayed. Carvana's CEO went on and said that it's also false. So there's a lot of he said, she said right now, but clearly there's got to be some validity towards this. Down 13% for Carvana. Now, with that being said, if you invested in Carvana back in 2022, this stock was just over $5. Flash forward, now at over $400. So Carvana is still, over the last 5 years on a huge rise. However, again, what happens? Is the earnings report actually false? It's really tough to tell, but right now Carvana, a big one in the red.
Carvana is going to have to come up with some evidence to defend themselves because investors don't like being lied to, don't like being played with.
Yeah, and this is a Carvana stock that just entered the S&P 500 last month. Could drop out if this continues to go down. So a lot of implications for Carvana users.
Let's talk about our third market mover, Microsoft. Now, Microsoft is down despite an earnings report. I know you read it. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the earnings report, the QT earnings report, did expectations well above at $81 billion. That's over $1 billion more than analysts projected.
And it's down?
And yet you see here, Riley, down 7%. It was 10% between Monday and Tuesday, the big dip, and it just continues to fall off of a cliff at $430 total dollars, down $34. Microsoft, ticker MSFT, is down. But why is that?
Well, that's because, they saw the earnings report. The earnings report is up, but they didn't like how much they were spending. Microsoft was spending so much money, they just inked a $750 million deal with Azure and Perplexity to use its Azure cloud service, spreading its business beyond longtime cloud partner Amazon. Now, right now, Perplexity is still working with Amazon, and it's getting Microsoft as an additional partner. But you never really see that, Drew, where you see the earnings report and it's in the green by a wide margin, and then the stock goes in the red. But really, investors really didn't like how much they were spending. They thought that was alarming.
And one of the big other reasons why RPOs, standing for remaining performance obligations, hit $625 billion. Almost half of that comes from OpenAI commitments. And right now, huge capacity constraints. Customer demand is higher than the supply for Microsoft. So really, Microsoft down despite positive earnings. That's the rare one.
That's interesting. Well, President Trump has finally made his Fed chair pick. He named Kevin Warsh to succeed Jerome Powell as Federal Reserve Chair. This pick did not upset the markets with Marsh's past Fed experience. Investors also believe that this pick removes the concerns over Fed independence, which has been weighing on the stocks.
Warsh served at the central bank from 2006 to 2011 and was openly critical of quantitative easing during and after the financial crisis. Appointed by President George Bush, Warsh was one of the youngest members to serve on the Board of Governors.
Announcing the pick on Truth Social, Trump praised Warsh as, quote, one of the great Fed chairmen, calling him central casting for the role. Warsh now faces Senate confirmation.
And if approved, he will take over the position in May when Powell's term expires. He will also fill the Board of Governors position currently held by Governor Stephen Miron, whose term expires tomorrow.
Earlier this week, the Federal Reserve voted to keep interest rates unchanged. Officials kept their lending rate at a range of 3.5 to 3.75%, following 3 conservative rate cuts late last year. The Fed statement noted that uncertainty about the economic outlook remains elevated, but the central bank's chair, Jerome Powell, told reporters available indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a solid pace.
In his press conference, Powell hinted that this pause may persist for some time. The decision was not unanimous, with Fed governors Stephen Miron and Christopher Waller, both who were appointed by President Trump, cast dissenting votes. They favored a quarter-point cut.
Despite no changes to the interest rates, all eyes were still on Powell. The Fed chair defended his attendance at the Supreme Court hearing last week on President Trump's attempted firing of Fed Governor Lisa Cook.
Powell also declined to comment on the federal investigation he currently faces, nor in its previous rebuke of the inquiry as a political maneuver to force rate cuts.
The House of Representatives is preparing a rare weekend meeting as congressional leaders race against the clock on a partial government shutdown. Welcome back to Market Shares. Apple's fiscal first quarter earnings surpassed expectations with revenue soaring 16%. Shares of the company were up as much as 3% following the news. Overall, iPhone revenues surged 23% on an annual basis to around $85 billion in revenue. The strong growth is a reversal from the holiday quarter last year when Apple reported iPhone sales declined just slightly. Apple's sales of Mac laptops came up short of Wall Street expectations, falling 7%.
SanDisk stock popped 14% after the company crushed Wall Street's fiscal second quarter estimates. The demand for its chips has skyrocketed due to the artificial intelligence boom. The company reported earnings of a little over $6 per share, blowing past the $3.62 expected by analysts. Revenue totaled around $3 billion, topping Wall Street's forecast of $2.69 billion. Following this news, shares of SanDisk jumped more than 20%.
Another company feeling the artificial intelligence boom is Meta. The company surged more than 10% after showing signs that AI investments are boosting the bottom line. The social media giant says it plans to spend between $115 and $135 billion on its AI build-out this year. That's nearly double what it spent in 2025. CEO Mark Zuckerberg suggested that the company is working on a range of new products this year and said investments will support his mission for building personal super intelligence. The company added more than $176 billion in market value. And organizers are trying to build on the momentum of a strike last week that brought thousands into the streets in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Students in Minneapolis, as well as here in Syracuse, are responding to the recent killings by ICE agents. So what kind of protests have we seen to this before, or have we seen anything similar to this?
During this.
Yeah, I guess I didn't get the memo on this because I'm here, but how are other students implementing this? Interesting stuff, Grace. We'll see if this actually pans out. Well, coming up on Market Shares, TikTok is pushing back on claims that it's censoring content following glitches with the app. What issues users were facing when we return. And American Airlines is planning to resume service to Venezuela from the United States for the first time since 2019. This comes just weeks after the U.S. captured Venezuela's president. American will be the first U.S. carrier to restart service to Venezuela, which had become kind of isolated after airlines paused flights in recent years. Federal officials temporarily closed airspace in the Caribbean earlier this month following the U.S. strikes in Venezuela. Delta Airlines and United Airlines have not commented. Well, after years of skepticism, TikTok has officially shifted to American ownership. However, the results are leaving app users universally a little shaken up. Our analyst Vanessa Shimoni has more on why the app is leaving users unsatisfied. So what does this kind of mean for the future of TikTok, given the recent purchase and now all these after effects? What's this mean for the future of it?
Why?
I don't even think my mom knows my location,
No.
and apparently TikTok does. So
Yes,
I need to stick to
seriously.
Reels.
yeah, that's very scary stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Vanessa. I
Yes.
appreciate it a lot. Coming up on Market Shares, questions on insider trading arise following prediction markets allowing trading on Super Bowl commercials. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Market Shares. Well, for many people, the best part of the Super Bowl is the commercials. This year, you can actually make or lose money on them.
What?
Prediction market for platforms Kalshi and Polymarket currently have contracts open on which companies will run ads during Super Bowl 60.
This is a new advancement in the advertising industry's biggest night. The price of Super Bowl commercials keeps increasing as the Super Bowl's audience keeps rising. This year, NBC, which will broadcast the game, has sold out all of its ad inventory, averaging $8 million per 30-second commercial. Riley, by no means are commercials my favorite part of the Super Bowl.
I don't think so.
However, I'm invested into them, and now you can bet on Super Bowl advertisements. Crazy stuff.
I don't think I'm going to be putting any money into the advertisements. I mean, I just don't get that. I mean, I don't know. And I'm sad to hear that they were sold out because I was planning on buying us all a market shares.
Market shares
yeah,
for $8 million?
It was going to be on me, guys. So
Sure,
unfortunately, they're sold out. But
I'll come out of your paycheck, mister.
But I just can't believe that you can now bet on this stuff. But the commercials are a great part of the Super Bowl. I mean, a lot of these games you watch and you kind of get on your phone on the commercials or whatever.
Sure.
You actually watch them on the Super Bowl, which is kind of the advertiser's best dream.
Well, I'm going to be stressing. My Seahawks are in the Super Bowl, and yeah, the advertisement's not on the top of my mind.
Seahawks, they're going to get it done?
Go Hawks. Yes, they
All
will.
right. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for you on this episode of Market Shares. Be sure to follow us online. I'm Riley Underwood.
And I'm Drew Alba saying good night, Syracuse.